Soon-to-be Hall of Famer Kevin Durant had did a sit-down with his good friend slash agent Rich Kleiman, in which they spoke about a bevy of topics, ranging from his impact in OKC to where he falls in the GOAT conversation. And in this current media landscape, it's great to see Kevin Durant having a medium in which he could express his thoughts and opinions on what's going on around the league, as he is one of the most misunderstood players of this era. And if you look back across the annals of NBA time, there's been many greats similar to Kevin Durant that have been misunderstood, like Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
You're a Phoenix Sun, but you were in Oklahoma City for 9 years, and it now is starting to really dawn on me when I see how good they are now. How do you feel when you see them back to being a team? Does it make you think of you guys at all?
No, I mean, I knew that the leadership there was smart enough to figure out how to continue to build the brand for one, and then build the team. When you have your first entry into the NBA is Sam Presti, you got great players like Russ, James, myself, Serge Ibaka. You got veterans like Perk. And as a young GM, Sam was 30 when he was a GM. I didn't realize that. I mean, when I got 30 and I was 19 at the time, but he was 30 years old as a GM in the NBA. That's insane. So we all were going through this maturation process and just figuring out what it is to be in the NBA and in these positions.
Damn, Sam Presti was 30. He must be a wizard by now. He's putting on a clinic, a fucking masterclass on how to rebuild an organization after losing 3 stars. They pretty much drafted back-to-back MVPs. I've never seen this before.
And I kind of knew how smart Sam was, that he'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But the craziest part is seeing the city itself. Because when I first got there, it was one skyscraper building, not many hotels. It wasn't much going on downtown. It was just a raw city that hasn't been exposed to I feel like it was exposed to the rest of the country. And now you go there, they have resort hotels, they got multiple skyscraper buildings, and building towards eventually having an all-star game there, which does so much for a city. You know what I'm saying? So I look at my time at OKC from that perspective, because we helped build a city up more so than just build a fan base for basketball. I felt like we built up the core and the culture of what this town is going to be about.
And OKC should definitely show much love to Kevin Durant. There was a year in which a tornado devastated down there, and Kevin Durant donated millions of dollars to get people back on their feet.
And all of that stuff comes together, and I realized what it's like not having a team in your market as opposed to having one. So for us to be expansion and do what we're doing now, and to see where they are now, I feel a part of it.
Sam Presti took me in, your whole coaching staff, and I swear to you, as a New York sports fan, and New York sports fans are the best. I always stand behind New York, obviously. But I had never seen a connection like fans and players had, I had seen in Oklahoma City, where when I walked in, the people at the concession or the people that were taking your ticket felt like they were your family, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the thing was, you did grow up with that city, and that city grew up with you, and it felt like a family loss, and it was bigger than basketball. And the Warriors part of it was just all right, that'll add to the fire, but
yeah,
it was really that this family had to separate.
Yeah, and I understood that, and I didn't underestimate people's feelings about me not being a part of that family anymore. I took that in and gave it thought and understood what it meant, and gave people their space and time to process it how they processed it, and then we'll have a conversation later.
But at the end of the day, Kevin Durant had to do what was best for him. At the time, just creating a winning formula with Russell Westbrook as his wingman, it just reached its peak. And as simple as that. Because now, even looking back, no one has nowhere near the playoff success with Russell Westbrook as their wingman than KD. And this is after Westbrook has been with LeBron James, James Harden, Carmelo Anthony, and with Paul George.
I respected how real those feelings were and how real that family we built were. And I think regardless of me having that jersey on, it's going to still feel that way, because OKC now has done how many years now, 15, 16 years of his existence, they really are into the alumni now. And I can feel that when I go back. I can feel that talking to my former teammates, and that makes me feel proud because like we really started that organization off, and that's a testament to everybody there because they built that family. We all did, but it was encouraged every day that like, yo, this is who we is. This is who we are when we come to Oklahoma City. Only major sports franchise in the city. Everybody's rallying around us in the whole state.
Hell yeah, they had to ingratiate themselves very carefully in Oklahoma City. They had KD walking around with that Bible. I'm not sure if you guys forgot about that, but he definitely was walking around with that Bible, and it makes sense. You know, you want to relate to the people that's there, but things have definitely advanced since then. And hopefully in the future, they're able to host an All-Star game in that city.
Felt that way.
And you know what? It's going to age really well.
I think so too. And even though it was rough for me with the fan base and some of the people that worked in the organization for a year or two, it was rough. But when I started to reflect on it, it was just like, it was special what we did, regardless of championships or not. I think that building a culture there so fast like we did, and
woo, that statement right there can't even do any justice. Them boys came up so quick. Just that San Antonio Spurs team of 2012. They were so good during the regular season. And Durant and Westbrook came out of nowhere and just dusted them out the playoffs. That's something that's really never talked about. And also the fact that they pushed the Warriors to the brink, where it took an all-time performance from Klay Thompson, just knocking down all those threes to actually get the Warriors out of that series. It's an untold chapter in the Kevin Durant story.
Building a core fan base, not just in Oklahoma, around the world. I see people who still Thunder fans from those days. That meant a lot. You know, winning championships and being at the highest level, I gained a lot of perspective on like, what am I truly doing this for? Because when you reach the mountaintop and all we covered is an NBA championship, and when you finally get there, you start to realize like, this is not it. It's like, it's not the only thing you want to do. It's like you want to continue to keep going after that. Then you do it for a second time. It's just like, damn, have I accomplished everything? What's really pushing me to continue to wake up every day and do this? And it went back down to just like, I truly just love the craft. And that's what's keeping me up every day, regardless of what happens around that and the results from that. I just enjoy the craft. And that's something that's, that I've learned from winning and losing and just being in the league over time, that it's simply about perfecting what I'm doing every day.
I feel like that's why it's so hard for people to believe that when you talk about the GOAT conversation, for instance, right, that you're talking about it in that sense. And I think it's hard for people to believe it at all. It's like, I actually think that people don't think you know that everyone has an asterisk next to your championships.
Yeah. And I almost say that stuff to...
Now, when it comes to Kevin Durant, the same people that have that asterisk for his championships in 2017 and 2018, they have to have the same energy for the championships LeBron has in 2012 and 2013 down in Miami. There's no way, pound for pound, you could convince anyone that the talents of Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh is not better than having the wingman talents of Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. There's just no way. You could even add Andre Iguodala to that mix. Those three versus those two alone, it's not even close. Dwayne Wade is top 3 shooting guards of all time. Like, LeBron has played with some major talent throughout his career.
Challenge people's thinking on why do you even have a GOAT list for one? And what does it actually mean in the grand scheme of things?
It's right that you're talking about it in that sense. And I think it's hard for people to believe it at all. It's like, I actually think that people don't think you know that everyone has an asterisk next to your championships.
And we also have to put into proper context that the Warriors really drafted all their guys. And their only real acquisitions to the team was Kevin Durant and Andre Iguodala. So it's not like they went out and purchased a super team. They really drafted most of their key players, got one guy, I believe through trade or through free agency. I believe it was a trade. Developed their second round pick in Draymond Green and went after Kevin Durant. That is a very different thing than some of the super teams we've seen formulated today, where you have multiple star players who are transplanted.
I don't think you know that everyone has an asterisk next to your championships.
Yeah. And I almost say that stuff to challenge people's thinking on why do you even have a GOAT list for one? And what does it actually mean in the grand scheme of things? And to also highlight that it's such a subjective thing that I can ask 20 people that you may not ever know or talk to who they GOAT, and they may say me. They may say Tracy McGrady or Paul George, but...
And also the nuances of the game. What are the rules? The league, every 10 years, they change the rules. I'm not saying necessarily the fundamentals of the game, but they do add certain nuances, the kind of play calling, not allowing the defenders to touch guys a certain way centers have to elevate in the paint. Offensive players today can actually push off with their off arm. The hooking that we've seen James Harden effectively utilize in the mid 2010s. Every decade has its nuances. So you really can't compare.
What does it matter? Like, at the end of the day, what truly matters in this thing? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, yeah, I've heard people come up to me and passionately tell me I'm the greatest they ever seen. And I feel like I've accomplished things on the court and been in situations that the greatest have seen. So I feel like I can have a conversation about basketball with a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. Not about bragging about how much we've done, but like, what did you see out there? And did I see the same things? I feel like I can have those conversations with the greatest that ever played. And they would feel comfortable knowing that I understand where they're coming from and their perspective on the game of basketball, because I'm well-traveled and I'm truly a student of the game, on top of me experiencing the same things they did. So when I say this GOAT thing, it's more so like, can I have a real basketball conversations with some of the best that's ever played basketball or walk those sidelines?
KD speaking facts right here. A lot of that GOAT conversation is really circle talk. It slowly has become the same way the political theater today plays out. It's just endless banter, back and forth, and guys picking sides. And you see this play out no further than a lot of the major sports media outlets of today. They got analysts completely taking sides with players to the point where they're supposed to be reporting what's going on in the league. But instead, they're really reporting things no different than Fox News would or CNN would. Just like those networks are aligned to certain parties, you see some analysts aligned to certain players.
I believe so.
Do you care about the asterisk shit, honestly? Do you care when you hear people say it?
No, I not as much as I care about the storytelling around the game. Don't dilute the storytelling around the game because of your personal opinions and emotions, and let's just present the facts around the game, because that's what's going to push the game forward.
And correct. And the fact is, in 2019, before KD had went down with that Achilles, he definitely was the best player in the league. Make no mistake about it, as he was playing offense and defense. And the reason why I say that is because LeBron James on the defensive end, remember that ticker that a lot of sports segments, especially on ESPN, used to do on LeBron walking on defense. He was stat padding like a motherfucker his last few years in Cleveland.
Continue to tell the history the right way. If we revised history based on how you personally feel, now you're getting in the way of the story. And what makes you bigger than our story when you're not even playing? That's how I look at it. And so the asterisks don't bother me more so than the people that's just saying it for the simple fact that you're upset.
Correct. And a lot of the mainstream media members are upset that Kevin Durant had blocked their guy LeBron James from capturing multiple championships when he had returned to Cleveland. Things were set up that way, especially after that Game 7 in 2016. Nobody wants to say it, but the Warriors were not going to beat the Cavs. That's why they flew out way out in Long Island at the edge of it to talk to Kevin Durant to get him to come to the Warriors. They understood that. That Cavs team was not a undermanned team as the narrative would like you to believe. When they had went up against a 73-win Warriors team in that 2016 finals, Las Vegas had the Cavs as the favorites. That team was fucking stacked. Why it went to game 7, that didn't make any fucking sense.
You're emotional. It's just like, I know what I did. Obviously, this in the record books, it's black and white. It's stamped to me.
Let's have a real high-level conversation about basketball sometimes. Don't just bucket Kevin as one of the best scorers on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And then the GOAT conversation. But you can then acknowledge, like, for that conversation, they're going to leave me out unless I do X, Y, and Z. But in this conversation where hoopers know and people that want to talk about basketball.
Now for Kevin Durant, he is going to have to prove himself and win a championship on his own. Not all championships are created equal. Kobe Bryant winning that championship over the Boston Celtics in 2010, he solidified his legacy. LeBron James' 2016 championship in Cleveland solidified his legacy. For Kevin Durant, him going out on his own, especially after Stephen Curry solidified his legacy with that championship in 2022, Durant now is going to have to follow suit because the narrative will always be they won one without you. You see, before the Warriors had not won a championship without KD, at least Durant had that to fall back on. They can't say I'm not a champion because the Warriors have never done nothing without me. Even though they did win a championship in 2015, but a lot of us understand the context behind that. The Cavs were pretty much injury riddled, and there was not as much respect put on that 2015 championship. Like I said, not all championships are created equal. So now, after Stephen Curry's 2022 championship, the pressure is now on KD.
It's a sport, I'll be in any conversation.
Yeah.
You're comfortable with that?
Yeah, and I don't mind jumping in that conversation of people who say I need to prove something to them to do X, Y, and Z, because I know my history, I know what I've done, so I can have those conversations too. And then I could just talk basketball with people who don't look at stuff like that. All I knew was storytelling around the NBA as a kid. I wasn't watching every game. I didn't have the NBA package. I couldn't, you know what I'm saying? It was one TV in the house and there's 5 or 6 of us. I couldn't turn on what I wanted to turn on as the youngest. And so when they listen and hear about what's going on with the game, I feel like it has, in order for that kid to truly get the best experience of what it's like, the truth has to be told. And what I'm saying is bigger than just me. It's just the overall fact of what's going on in the NBA and the storytelling around the NBA. It should be.
Yeah, the storytelling is very fucked up. Once again, it's similar to the political landscape in which now sports reporting, you have to take sides, which is something that has never existed before. But as far as Kevin Durant, if you tell the story, he's going to have to win a championship on his own because Steph definitely applied that pressure after his beautiful, masterful performance in the 2022 NBA Finals. He's another one that had to solidify himself by getting a championship on his own. He beat that Boston Celtics team with Andrew Wiggins as his second best player. Magnificent performance by Curry.
Based on facts more so than whoever's writing this personal bias opinion.
Yeah. Well, sadly, there's space for both. Most networks, lean towards one version of it. And pound for pound, the people that are talking about it really do know the game. A lot of them know the game. But, we know what sells. And I think what's unfortunate is that, let's look at your body of work.
That's not.
Yeah, what sells? Going back to the media talk, what sells for a lot of media members is that they're all following that Trump formula. I'm going to pick a side, you pick a side, and we got a debate. That Trump formula has trickled down into sports.
Even look at the accolades that are accumulated. Just look at the seasons of the numbers.
We're going to get to that.
You know what I'm saying? And how long are those seasons and those numbers, how consistent those numbers are. That to me is a career. And no matter how many accolades you accumulate, I have high level respect for Stephon Marbury. And he has no accolades or no real stake in any of these conversations, but you look at the 9 or 10 seasons that he played. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but that's the thing. So then when you talk about the GOAT conversation, right?
Come on, KD. Come on, KD. Stephon Marbury don't have the same type of talent level as you. The expectations are completely different. If you want a seat at the GOAT table, there's certain requirements. And I understand some of it is definitely nuance, but there are tables sectioned off just outside of that GOAT table in which you see players like John Stockton are sitting at, Allen Iverson is sitting at, Chris Paul is going to be sitting at one of those tables. They are different tables, make no mistake about it. But that GOAT table, it's only a selective few, and there's certain requirements in order to sit at that table. And speaking of someone that's sitting on one of the sides table, you could throw in Charles Barkley in there. There's actually more people sitting just outside the GOAT table than there's actually room for more people to come and join that GOAT table. There's so many players sitting just outside of that. That's how much rarefied air is in that section.
And no matter how many accolades you accumulate, like I have high level respect for Stephon Marbury, and he has no accolades or no real stake in any of these conversations. But you look at it, you look at the 9 or 10 seasons that he played. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but that's the thing. So then when you talk about the GOAT conversation, right? And I'm not here advocating for you to be in it or not be in it. I'm saying that.
And me either.
Right. No, I know you're not.
I'm just questioning just the whole conversation itself.
I hear you because what I was saying is if you do 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, an MVP, 4 scoring titles, 3 Olympic gold medals, all-time Olympic scorer, then you talk about 17 years in the league, 16 years playing because you missed an entire year for what? The craziest injury ever, which is never spoken about. I could say this.
Yeah.
You know, all those accolades Rich Kleiman just listed, it sounds like a bona fide Hall of Famer. But once again, that GOAT conversation, it's rarefied air, man. It's fucking rare. It's like the 0.00001% of the 1%ers are in that conversation. But it's definitely nuanced.
And also another year of your season where you miss 50 games, 60 games with an injury that people didn't even realize.
Well, I should have probably missed the whole season, really.
You played like 12 games or 18 games.
27. But if I would have did the last surgery we did that first, then I would have missed the whole year.
People don't realize that your Jones fracture surgery was 3 surgeries for 1 injury. Your foot is so fucking different that.
Oh man, they were saying that's a career-threatening injury.
Yeah.
Because of the blood flow that goes to the bone, and it might not all the way. Like it was a bunch of, you know how that shit is.
That was scary.
And that's another underrated nuance about the Kevin Durant story. The season-ending injuries. I mean, it's happened to him in Golden State and Oklahoma City. But yet, his scoring numbers are going to be up there by the time he retires. So imagine he had those other 2 years worth of stats. Matter of fact, he might have missed 3 seasons. You guys correct me in the comment section if I'm off about that. I believe he missed extra time when he first joined the Brooklyn Nets in order to come back.
All of this shit was scary. Even when the Achilles, and it was like, man, you may get blood clots if you don't control certain.
You were bugging from the blood clots.
I was bugging him all of that because I felt like it was affecting my whole body, just my Achilles, because such a major ligament. You know what I'm saying? So
this guy almost risked his fucking career for the Golden State Warriors because they knew he was leaving. They nailed Kevin Durant on that fucking cross. That's why they gave him a signing trade when he went to Brooklyn, so he can hit that guaranteed supermax. But they nailed that boy right to the cross. I don't know why Kevin Durant put himself in that circumstance, because it was obvious. His Achilles was already fucked up right before they hit that Western Conference Finals.
And that's what goes unnoticed when you talk about professional athletes and how we deal with injuries. You know what I'm saying? And what it takes to really come out of that. And you was in it with me every day.
Bro, went to all 3 surgeries with you, obviously, but the third one, I had back surgery 3 days before.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And you took you was on a flight, not even first class.
No, first
seat
class, bro. This was middle
back.
Seat, last row of the plane joint.
And
like this.
You had, what was it? This
I
surgery?
had the microdiscectomy or some shit. Yep. Then I remember you get to the Bay, and you remember the first year in the Bay, you got hurt in DC. We go to get an MRI or an X-ray. They look at it and they say that you're probably out for the year. And
oh my gosh! They
remember what happened?
They told us that I was out for the year, and there's then a 30-45 minute wait period before they called us back. So imagine that 30 to 45 minutes we were in.
Bro, tears
Yes.
because you had just left.
That's the beautiful side about this landscape that we're in right now, where you hear it directly from the players. And to see Kevin Durant bounce back from both of those surgeries, especially the way he performed in Brooklyn, just having his toe in the line, he could have led that team to the finals and perhaps won the championship. It goes to show you how good of a player he is. Much respect to KD.
From Oklahoma City to the Bay, you were bumping, and if you got hurt and they kept playing and winning, like, there was so much stress on you, there was so much bullshit that, like, what, you're out for the year?
Yeah, it was just, and it was devastating. It was totally devastating to the point where it's just flat out tears as soon as they said that, because it's just like, come on, it can't play out this way.
No.
But then when we got the call, yeah, let's tell you how bad DC traffic is. We still in the car 45 minutes later on the way to the hotel, and they called us and told us that there's a 4 or 6 week injury, and just a bone bruise, and I was so relieved, and we almost celebrated. And I remember that next morning, Zaza the one that fell into my leg, he was so distraught. Like, I felt so bad for him. It's like 6 or 7 in the morning. He knocked on my door now. And he's just so apologizing so much. I felt so bad, but he didn't realize that, like, yo, you didn't get that news we got.
No, he's straight up.
And then get the other news we got. So I was excited at that time. So I was like, Zab, man, it's all good. I'm gonna be
I'll see you in the playoffs.
I see you. Hold it down for me. And that eased his mind too. And I love Zaza. That's one of my favorite teammates ever. And I love that he came and did that. But that just shows the emotional roller coaster this league, and being an NBA player, and all that stuff matters, bro. And not just me. People around me feel that too.
Oh my God. So your Achilles, right? Let's just paint a picture for 1 second. You guys have won 2 championships in a row. You know, you're playing the Toronto Raptors. You're missing the first few games. There's a lot of buzz of whether you're going to come back. And you call me. I'm in New York. It's right before game 5. Mm-hmm. And you said to me, yo, get Mary Beth. We need the massage therapist to meet me in Toronto. I said, why, what's up? You're like, I'm going to play. And, bro, it was like more heroic than I think people even realize, to be fair. And I fly to Toronto, and no one knew you were playing, so I ended up being the only person there. It was like bad weather, and I come into town, and we're having that, like, I felt like Don King and Mike Tyson. I remember I was talking to you. I was like, bro, this is about to be that motherfucking moment. You taking this series back. This is it. Then you was like, come on the team bus with me, bro. I'm like, hell yeah. I wore sweats because I was like, I got to be in the moment.
Yeah.
So I wore Warrior sweats. I got on the bus. I remember Dre.
Now, right here, I think Kleiman's putting a little sauce on it, because Kevin Durant was at the end of his contract, about to be an unrestricted free agent. And it was clearly obvious there was something wrong with his Achilles. And for the Golden State Warriors, they were pressuring him to return. And it was almost looking like that was going to be the first time the NBA audience was going to see a franchise pretty much nail a player to the cross to try to win a championship. Kevin Durant is lucky his career didn't end that night.
Dap me up. And this was a bucket list moment for me. And then the fucking arena buzzing, Drake there. And what happened after that was honestly like a movie, a fucking movie. We're in the back with 4 doctors, Bob, the team's not even back, and no one can talk. And it's obvious you tore your Achilles. Do you remember that moment still? Like it was yesterday? Do you block that shit out?
No, I remember it. It's a huge moment in my life, man. It's just a life-changing moment. As I was walking back, I knew.
Man, most people thought his career was done. It was obvious something was already wrong with him. To throw him out there was crazy. I know Rich Kleiman told him, fuck the Warriors. We already leaving. Forget it. But the pressure was really on. And we seen in real time how aggressive the Warriors really are. Remember, this past trade deadline, they hit up the LA Lakers to test the temperature on what they could do to get LeBron on their team. So the Warriors do have an understanding that them getting to the NBA Finals is not really guaranteed. As we've seen, it took years later in order for them to return to their exact final spot.
For a fact that it was done. Because when I was walking, I didn't feel like I had a normal foot. Like it felt like my foot was hanging, but I was just walking on my heel and I couldn't feel anything else but my heel. So I'm like, this is no way I can even walk straight or try to walk straight right now. So I know it's just not like no strain or nothing. And I felt and I heard a pop. It's 20,000 people in there. It's the finals, and I heard a pop. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And my whole basketball career just flashed before my eyes. Everything.
Yep, because he was warned. KD was warned. Why would his whole basketball career flash before his eyes? Because he was already fucking warned that if he makes that move and play in that game in Toronto, that could be the end of his career.
Everything I did, everything that I thought about, all my favorite moments, all my bad moments, it flashed. And that's why if you watch, I'm just sitting there gazing into the crowd before somebody came over there and helped me up, because I'm just like, this shit is over with. Like, I truly don't know what I'm about to be. And that's a nerve-wracking feeling when you don't know who you are.
That was
Facts. And that's why I said Rich Kleiman putting extra sauce on it. The fact that KD's going out there to sacrifice himself when literally after these finals he will be an unrestricted free agent. So he could have had possibly a career-ending injury followed by having no guaranteed contract behind it. So just in that one night, Kevin Durant could have went from being a basketball player to now having to search for a new identity because his NBA life is basically over.
scary shit.
You know what I'm saying? And as I was walking back, you know, I seen everybody, and Kyle Lowry was trying to settle the crowd down. I seen Drake over there upset. I love that dude so much, bro. Like you knew and he knew. And
Everybody knew KD. Come on, everybody knew. Him tearing his Achilles right there didn't shock anybody. We already knew what it was. That's why the Warriors gave you that signing trade when you decided to go to Brooklyn in free agency. They didn't have to do that, but they did it as a gesture to signal to other potential free agents that we're not going to do KD like that. But that shit looked bad on that franchise, that they were willing to do that, knowing that KD was going to bounce from that franchise regardless.
because I tell him everything. And I seen how mad he was about it. And then as I went back to the locker room, they give you this test where I guess they squeeze on your calf to see if your foot will move. And my foot would move, and that's when every doctor knows that. And I remember the doctor did that, and he was just looking around and just didn't say nothing.
No one wanted to say shit.
He just couldn't say nothing. And I was just like, fuck, this is it. And
See, a regular Achilles tear is bad, but the fact that everyone knew that if he hit the court, that shit was going to tear, that's even worse. That is even worse. Once again, KD going down like that was a bad look on the Warriors. Just not even them losing the finals. Just the way they was willing to sacrifice KD shows you how aggressive the Warriors really are when it comes to winning.
that's when I knew. I was like, all right, I probably won't go back to the Bay again. And this whole thing is just, this is the end of this whole thing. Yeah, it was just like, this the end of this whole thing. Like, I had left to come on that road trip, and I didn't even go back to the Bay after that to get my clothes or nothing. Y'all all did that for me. Went straight to New York, got surgery, and was a New Yorker since then. And it was such a defining moment in my career, bro. People don't realize the thoughts that I had as I was going through all of that shit, because it affects your human life at that point. You can't walk, you can't function like a regular human. You gotta learn how to walk again, on top of you trying to learn how to be an athlete again. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, man, it was tough. Just because.
Once again, for him to come back and play on that level that he did, going up against Giannis and just having his toe on the line, man, that's how good and dedicated of a basketball player that he is.
I didn't know what the recovery is like. You just hear about it, you know, and it's different when you go through it. So all I knew was just like, this is the toughest injury ever. It's gonna be hard to come back from. It's a year process. Every day is tedious. That's all I kept hearing. So I'm just, and I knew I can grind out of rehab, but I'm just like, will that even help? You know what I'm saying? I know I get,
Damn, KD's coming to tears just thinking about it. Jesus.
but will I really be the one that I was before? And that was stressing me out because I couldn't know until I started. And then my mind started to get at ease when I started playing pickup. When I started going against other players that were in the NBA. And I'm like, I could still drive past him. I could still shoot over this guy. There's certain stuff that I was missing out of my game that I had to build back up again. Like my range from deep, like stopping on a dime, pulling up from deep, like my fadeaways going right off my leg, pushing off this right leg. I feel like I had to build that stuff up and it was stressful, but I was like, I still feel solid around the younger players in the league. So that's when I started testing myself out, that's when I got better. And that's when my mind became more at ease. And then I was starting to realize like, I can do this again. And then it happened over time. Like my first preseason game, I was like, okay. My first 6-7 games in the league, I was playing all right. I was like, all right. Then my first playoff series, this is the highest intensity of basketball, playing against the Milwaukee Bucks, a champion. I'm like, all right, this is the highest level of ball, and I can play 48 minutes straight. All right, I'm back. That's when I finally realized, like, all right, I'm all right.
When you think about that series, KD playing all those minutes, had they gotten past the Bucks, man, his energy level, I don't know if they could have lasted in the finals, but they probably would have won it against CP3 with him just having those meltdowns in crucial moments. But KD was burnt out. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did in that series against Milwaukee with Kyrie out and James Harden having that hamstring issue. But it shows you the level of talent and dedication he really has coming off that surgery and just performing like that. A lot of guys would not have come back, or it would have taken them 2 or 3 seasons to get back playing like that.
I think it's crazy that 2 of the most defining moments in your career, and your career is not nearly done, and you've accomplished so much, is this Achilles injuries on the biggest stage ever.
Yeah.
And having one of the most epic, iconic games in New York City that came up a quarter of an inch short, right? And I'm not one of them people that's like, man, the media don't treat you right. Like, I get it. We get the asterisks. We get it all.
Yeah.
We get it all. But what I'm talking about is that, like,
a lot of that asterisk, once again, it comes from a lot of media members understanding that KD had blocked LeBron James from perhaps getting his 6 rings. The legacies of KD, Curry, and LeBron are all interlinked. Stephen Curry allowing KD to come to the Golden State Warriors and helping him get over on LeBron. LeBron himself beating KD to get his first NBA championship and on his pursuit to get multiple rings to perhaps catch up to Jordan and be on that GOAT conversation after the 2016 finals. KD had made that decision to join Golden State. And at the same time, on Kevin Durant's end, Stephen Curry being a bigger star than him while he was at Golden State, and just him never receiving the love and adoration that Curry did, and also the respect of getting those 2 rings, followed by the 2022 championship by Curry, has added even more pressure on KD to prove himself, even though he's a 2-time NBA champion as well as a 2-time MVP. So once again, all their stories are intertwined. You really can't explain one of their legacies without the other.
can we spend a little time on the fact that you are 10th all-time in scoring, you missed 2 full seasons. You're 4th all-time or 3rd all-time in scoring average. You've played 16 years in the NBA. Like you said, one of those seasons you only played 27 games, and every year you're averaging 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, shooting over 50%. That conversation, whether you want to put it in the GOAT, you want to put it in the best hooper ever, that conversation is important. It's important for...
That conversation he's describing right there is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But the GOAT conversation is completely different. There's certain criteria that never ever change.
To have out there, and it's one of the things I wanted to get across in this interview, because when I was hearing you talk about it the other day, everyone went right to your decision, like, cool, take the decision.
Yeah, but also see this.
Just see this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have to accomplish more? Are you at all motivated by this, by the story, the narrative?
The only thing KD's missing is winning one without Curry. Just win one on your own. Because had Curry had not won that championship in 2022, the narrative would still be, they couldn't really win one without KD. At least he had that to fall back on. Now he does not have that. So the only scenario now is to solidify yourself by getting one on your own without the Golden State Warriors.
I wouldn't say I'm motivated by the narrative. Like, I hear it and I understand it, but I've never been motivated by that.
You know who was motivated by the narrative? Curry was. Once Durant left, we seen Curry bulked up. He got stronger. He actually was leading his team while guys were going through injuries in the 2021 season, even though it didn't lead to any playoff success or any finals appearance. But Curry led his team throughout that whole season, remaining healthy, looking stronger. And he built himself up to carry that team the following season all the way to the finals to win the championship. And finally getting his own NBA Finals MVP. You know that shit mattered to Curry.
It's always been about, can I perfect the craft tonight? Can I be at my best tonight? And that's always the challenge more so than anything. And once I started to understand that, like, this was my goal all along, was to build my craft to the best that I can get it and fitting that into a team, instead of like, I just want to win championships and have these accolades for myself. That's when the game started to become more fun to me. And that's what I lean on more than anything. So once the game...
Come on, KD, really, man? If that was the case, you would have stayed in OKC. Come on, man, let's not cap.
Is once I don't enjoy that part of it, then that's probably when I think about when it's time for me. But I enjoy so much of, like, even the calls. I'm like, man, fuck, I hated this fucking game tonight. This is a shitty game by us. I enjoy knowing that, all right, I can go back the next game and avenge our loss. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy that part of the grind. So, you know, it's just, for me, like, the narratives are, I hear them and I listen to them and it inspires me and fuels me, but it's not the reason I play. You know what I'm saying? It's just something I can't avoid.
And I would say there's been times where the people closest to you are like, bro, shoot more. Like,
Yeah.
I think if anything, you know, I see the scoring in the league right now and it's insane, right? And I mean, the talent level's off the charts, but I feel like there's games you could have went for 50 or 60 and you've just chosen to commit to playing the way you like to play, game in and game out, no matter what.
Yep, especially in Golden State. There were times where KD already had 30 points, shooting well over 55%, and they just sat him down. They were blowing teams out. KD is the perfect glove. You could really fit him on any team. Just the ultimate weapon. He plays in any system. He doesn't have to have the ball nonstop. He can catch and shoot. He can score in all kinds of ways.
Yeah, it's times where I would have had high number of points in the first quarter and they could easily turn into a big night. But I was trying to do what it takes to win the basketball game. And if it takes for me to go have to score big and shoot a lot of shots, then I'll have to do it. But sometimes when I had those high scoring games, now, by the time I get back into the game, now we got to play more of a team game, and I might not be able to get those big numbers. And I had to be cool with that early on, knowing that, all right, I play with great players that can do the same things too. So sometimes it may not be all about me.
See right there, KD's talking about being the ultimate glove right there. That's why he is the perfect superstar. The perfect fucking superstar. You could fit him on any team.
And that's the beauty of playing on great teams and going to the Warriors and playing for the Nets and playing for the Suns, and you play around great players and different perspectives around the game. You understand it's bigger than you.
Damn, was that a shot at Westbrook? He didn't mention OKC. He didn't mention OKC. We know Westbrook loves to play that your turn, my turn shit.
And I learned that over time. And I think that's a part of the growth of being more than just a scorer.
Why do you think people in the media think you're not a good leader or that you're not a leader?
I'm not as charismatic as my peers. I don't have a personality that's like fit for TV like my peers, and a lot of those stories of what we talk about don't get spoken about in the media, and that's just really what it is. It's like you gotta sell what you're doing as well.
Facts, you really do. The way the NBA is set up today, you really gotta sell it. You see Anthony Edwards, he looks like a leader on television, but then when you see some of the comments he made about the All-Star game, just not understanding that he's one of the figureheads, and you can't downplay that All-Star weekend while at the same time your league is trying to pitch it to streaming companies to buy it or to buy certain segments and try to get a bag out of it. So even though he's selling it, You see him making media members laugh, very charismatic. He seems like a leader, but certain actions show you, he's not really thinking with 2020 hindsight. And it's a failed thing across multiple industries and sectors of society, understanding leadership. They kind of approach it on a one-size-fits-all spectrum. But this past era with LeBron James and KD and Stephen Curry, they're showing you that there's different types of leaders. Stephen Curry, no doubt, is a leader. The fact that he let KD come to the team and he was willing to play second fiddle, even though the person who seemed to be most uncomfortable in their role ended up being KD. But Durant does show leadership in his actions as far as his dedication to the game, but as far as him being stoic, especially with the Twitter fingers, and also mainly, he should have ignored the noise about him being in Golden State, because in reality, the Warriors were the perfect place for Durant to actually exist. So there are certain stoic qualities that he is missing, and it doesn't mean that he's not a leader. Once again, leadership is always kind of approach on a one-size-fits-all spectrum. But Kevin Durant throughout his career has shown that he's missing a bit of the stoicism. The following Kyrie to Brooklyn, making your announcement even though you're the top free agent. He made his announcement after Kyrie, and even on his exit kind of played out the same way. Kyrie asked out and then he asked out, even though he just signed a brand new 4-year extension. So there's a lot of holes in his jacket that takes away from him being stoic.
I haven't sold it enough, and I feel like I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel like I want people to call me a leader, but I also don't want people to say I'm not one either. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't see.
Man, KD, fuck what people think, man. Just do you. God damn. This is the problem with social media. It actually exposed what bothered KD, and that's always been his biggest mistake. You're showing your fucking cards, so people are just gonna continuously troll you, because that's what mainly social media is. There's a lot of trolling. We're in the troll era. That's one of the reasons why the media tends to not like Kawhi Leonard, because he's not on social media. He's not exposing what he likes or don't like. They can't really get to his head. They can't bother him. They don't know how he feels. If KD had more of that aura, along with his dedication to the game, they will look at him kind of more as a leader.
You gotta sell what you're doing as well, and I haven't sold it enough, and I feel like I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel like I want people to call me a leader, but I also don't want people to say I'm not one either. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't see what goes on behind the scenes or what I talk about or my intentions or the relationships that I built with my teammates and support staff. But when guys like that say that, I just got to chalk it up to them just not being aware of what goes on, instead of like wanting to, push a narrative for myself, maybe not a narrative, or tell the truth for myself. Or expose the truth on how great of a leader I am. I don't feel like it's necessary. I just chalk it up to those guys not being aware of who I am.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be okay with that. And that's where KD has to find comfortability in that. Just as he's comfortable enough to reflect on his career with Rich Kleiman right here. But again, we're in an era now where it's great to see players have a nice medium where they could truly be themselves and kind of give the NBA audience a bit more insight. Because when we reflect on KD's career, he is one of those top tier players of all time. But like any other player, he's a product of his era. So it is what it is. We'll see if he could bring a championship to Phoenix and leave no doubts in the mind of the very same people who put an asterisk next to his name. But hey, that's all we have for today. You fellas definitely hit up the mailbag with any questions. And until next time, peace.